Hello, good evening. Wow, been a while. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Trevor, Lynda.
Hello.
Oh,
It's good to
how
see
art
your
thou?
beautiful faces today.
I know. It's such a beautiful day here in Kamloops, Canada.
Every
It's
day is a beautiful day in Kamloops, Canada. At least that's what I've heard.
the grim
Tourism.
snow. I didn't really sign up for all this snow. It's nice for the first couple of weeks, but then it just starts deteriorating after a while. But anyway.
So how much snow have you gotten?
Well, it's not so much the quantity; it's what it does after. That's what the problem is, and it's the fact that it turns like it's all beautiful white, and the hills are all beautiful white, and it looks like a nice little Christmas card. And Canada looks very beautiful, but then that starts melting away, and then that turns to ice, and then that is just like there's big boulders of rocks of ice everywhere, and that's the most displeasing part about it all. But
yeah, we're supposed to start getting dumped on down here too. So this week, in fact, we got a little bit of snow and a little bit of slush.
Hopefully,
it's exciting to watch all the people from California, from Southern California, that have moved to their area recently and discovering snow for the first time. And,
oh wow!
Oh, it's a riot, I tell you. So looking forward to it. It's for me, it's job security. So.
Yeah, there you go. So it is actually, no, it's like, yep, that I'm going to definitely be busy this time of year. This is kind of your peak season, isn't it? For sure. But anyway, Lynda, how you been?
I've been okay. I'm waiting for the date for my next eye surgery. So I'm so excited about that. But the weather's been kind of weird here, guys. We are having like spring in November, which is weird. But then I heard, you're going to get dumped on 2 days from now with snow. So just prepare yourself.
Yeah, get out and enjoy it while you can, right?
Yeah. There was an event that happened. I had to work last night till 9:00, and there was an event happening on the street where I work. And it was insane because people were wandering around with, no mittens, no hats. And I kept thinking, okay, so when is the axe going to fall? 2 days from now.
No, it just suddenly goes like that. There's no like happy medium in relation to the transition with the weather or anything like that. But are you guys busy paranormal wise this time of year, or do you guys start just ramping down?
So for us, I mean, we had a really busy summer. We had a really busy fall. Our Halloween events and everything. And in our last meeting, I told my team, I was like, all right, hey, we're clear on the schedule for, the rest of the year. So everybody just enjoy your families. And then I had all of a sudden a residential investigation fall in my lap that we're going to have to take a weekend trip for here in a couple weeks. So I've been begging for volunteers. So like, hey, come on, let's go do this. So hopefully that'll be about it. And we can just enjoy our holiday season.
It's funny, when I was Vancouver Paranormal Society, when we had investigations coming out of our ears, I was always very gung-ho about these ones that came out around Christmas because they were always seemed to be more intriguing. It's probably more desperation for me to get out of the house. But other team members weren't so receptive to it, and it was always like get to the last minute, then all of a sudden everyone just blows out, no, I've got Christmas parties and this and that.
Man.
But anyway, it's now we've had a few come up over the last few weeks, but with the weather here and the roads and stuff like that, I think I'm getting too old and grumpy to be out in this weather. So I was just kind of bottling it to one side in the new year. We have a lot of fundraisers. We're going to be busy next year as well with like fundraising and a lot of public investigations and stuff like that. So keep us busy. And then the obviously with us coming off the Paranormal Network as well with the show, it's going to take a big turn in the new year. So that's going to take a lot of time and effort where we're going with that at the moment. So very much looking forward to that. Stay tuned for that. And it's busy times, but nice busy, not like crazy busy where you're trying to put out little fires everywhere and stuff like that. So anyway, this week's guests, friends of mine and Trevor, you obviously know them back from the good old Taps days, and we were all part of Taps once upon a time. That's where I first met Adrian and Tina. They formed a group called River Valley Paranormal Research Investigations in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and we're going to bring them on the show and say hello to them. Hi guys, good evening.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good. So Adrian and Tina, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got started. And obviously, did you guys meet in the paranormal world, or how did that all come about?
You want to answer that one?
Well, we didn't meet in the paranormal world. We were already married when all this kind of fell in our laps.
Oh.
Yeah, we were married about, exactly 10 years from before we started the team. So the house we're sitting in is haunted. So
if you see stuff move behind us, just ignore it.
Yeah. But we got married in 96, and then we moved to McAllister, Oklahoma. And second house we lived in McAllister, Oklahoma, renting, was haunted, and Tina was experiencing stuff there. I was not. I didn't believe it. I didn't think there was anything paranormal. So I was the type of person that Tina and the kids were talking about things going on, and I just wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Now
That's a nice way of putting it.
Well, that's interesting. That's kind of a cool perspective, because a lot of the cases that I've been on, and I know Pete and Lynda too, that we'll go in, and that's very much the norm. It seems like one person is having experiences, the other one isn't. Yeah, and
go ahead.
Well, I was just curious, what kind of strain does that put on a relationship? I mean, was it
a lot?
It put a lot.
Like, I would imagine it'd be pretty frustrating. Yeah.
It is. It's frustrating when you tell your spouse something and you've been married for a while and your spouse don't believe what you're saying, and you're thinking, are you thinking I'm making this up, and why would I?
Well,
at least meet me halfway, and it wasn't even that.
there was no halfway to me, because typical Christian at that point, right? I am, you die, you go up, you go down. There's no in between. That's all there was in my thought process. So Tina was telling me that she was, thought we were haunted. And I was like, you're silly. There's no such thing. And when, and me being a typical male, I'd get up in the morning, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd watch TV, I would eat my meal, I would watch TV, I'd go to bed, and my next day would be the exact same thing. My whole life was basically at work. At home, it's watch TV, eat, watch TV, go to bed. And, I heard the sound, I heard the voices, but it couldn't be paranormal. It had to be something else, because ghosts didn't exist. And so, as the story goes, Tina was experiencing stuff. And then one night, I don't know if you know this, sometimes couples will argue. It happens. And I hate to say that we're normal in that sense, where we argue. And one time we got into an argument, and, it was school night for me. I had to go to work. And so I just went ahead and went to bed, left Tina downstairs. And you could tell them what happened.
I was cleaning the kitchen like at 2:00 in the morning. So after the little argument, he went upstairs. I was crying, and I thought, well, I need a break. So I was sitting at the computer playing solitaire, and I felt a cold hand on my back, and it started. It was kind of started down at the low part of my back and kind of just went up my back, just kind of a soft touch. And I felt that it was maybe a woman consoling, because it felt consoling. And I just kind of stiffened up, and I said, I don't mind you staying here, but please don't let me see you, because it would have freaked me out, because I had been hearing voices for a while. And so that wasn't my first experience in weirdness. It was just my first experience of being touched. And of course, I couldn't go to anybody and say anything because it would
Well,
freak
she
the
told
kids
me.
out. And then he would make fun of me, and which he did.
Yeah, she told me, and I was like, I thought that was great. I thought it was hilarious that she would actually believe it, and of course, I would when we had friends over or we'd go out to eat and stuff. I'd be like, you guys are gonna love that. Tell them your story. Tell them your ghost story, and yeah, because I really thought she was silly. I really thought that she was just off her rocker. Until one night I went off my rocker, and that's where it gets kind of weird because we lived there we moved there in 97. We moved to the house on 2nd Street in 98.
We lived there about a year and a half.
Lived there for about
because we had signed a lease and we were a little over our lease, but we didn't sign it again because we were getting removed.
So we was in this household for about a year, and all this stuff was going on, and we had 3 kids in the house. We went to the movies one night, left the kids at home, and it was a late movie, so we were coming home from the movies. I can't remember which movie it was, but we were just talking. We were in a full-size Chevy van and going down Main Street in McAllister, Oklahoma, which is not a big town, but this was a big street. It had 2 lanes going each direction, and it had a big island in the middle. It was well lit. Coming up to a main intersection, right beyond that was nothing but train tracks and an overpass over the train track. But it was well lit because of the junction for the train tracks. And we was about a block away from that main intersection when we seen something cross the road in front of us. And I say something because I have no idea what it is. Originally, we thought, at first, we both thought big cat, like a big black panther, but it didn't have a tail. It didn't look like a cat really when you got to look at it. And it took it was about, I've been saying over years, about 8 seconds, and it's easy 8 seconds, at least 8 seconds as it crossed diagonally across the road. And just before it left our view, it had turned its face towards us. It wasn't a cat face. It looked more like a bat face. There was no tail. The front legs were really exaggerated over its back. And what you think is like wings folded behind it. And the way it walked wasn't exactly slinky. And I just mind there for a second. I stopped the van, and Tina's like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "What'd you see?" I was like, "No. What did you see?" Because I really, really thought I had lost my mind there for a second. And Tina described to me the exact same thing. It was black. I say 6 feet, but 6 to 8 feet long.
It was big. It was pretty big.
But 2.5, 3 feet from the ground to the main part of the back. I wouldn't know. Mid back, not including the arms, the front legs. But that made me think, if that's real, because she saw it. It didn't matter how crazy I was. She described what I saw, and she can't read minds. Otherwise, we'd have better, probably
more arguments.
No, more arguments. You think? Anyhow, but anyhow, if that was real, and it was, because Tina had seen it and described to me what I'd seen, and that didn't fit in
maybe
reality.
Tina wasn't crazy after all.
No, if that's the thing. I watched all the nature shows growing up. It was great, and I've been to several zoos, and this thing didn't fit in the natural world, and it wasn't like a brief thing. Like I said, 8 seconds. And when you see something that's 8 seconds, that's an amazing long time. When you see something that's like that, and so that made me start thinking all this stuff that I didn't believe in. If that was real, well, maybe everything else could be. There's a possibility that it exists. So the next time when I was sitting there watching TV, I heard the conversation that we've been hearing over the years, and Tina kept talking about. I keep hearing voices. I'm like, no, it's just the people next door. So when I heard the conversation, I muted the TV. Conversation was still going on. I said, I got to prove it to myself. So I got up off the couch and I went into the dining room, which is just to my left. It had a bay window, so I could see to the front of the house, to the back of the house, but it had to be my neighbors. But I went out there that my neighbors were not there. And I looked and I didn't see nobody, but the conversation is still going on. So it's got to be in the alleyway out back. So I turned to my left, head towards the kitchen, and the kitchen had this like a breakfast nook in it that we didn't use. There was nothing in it. But I walked it going towards the back door. And as I walked past the nook going through the doorway into the washroom, I passed by to my left, I passed by the conversation in that nook. Like somebody sitting at a table having a discussion like we would have. And that must be why she understood, because that had to be what was going on in their life at some point, because they keep looping there.
Yeah.
But as I passed by that conversation, I realized that to my left, I stopped, I backed up a step, and I looked that direction, and the conversation quit. But it was obviously inside my house. So I always call that my very first ghost investigation. And because that was the first time I actually looked to try to find anything. And, but I told Tina at that point, I guess we are haunted, because those voices were obviously inside the house and there were no people there.
Was there, Adrian, was there like, ha ha, I told you moment, or was it just
No,
like,
that wasn't until we moved into this house.
We've had a few of those moments over the years.
That was in Oklahoma. When we moved into this house, it was kind of the same conversation over again. I told him there was something in this house, and he poo-pooed all over it and said there wasn't. And I said, how come you don't believe anything I say? I said, I said, I'm telling you, I'm seeing something move around the house. And I said, it's not just normal stuff. You know, there's stuff going on over here.
Well, I mean, yeah, you hear it on the TVs all the time. I mean, hauntings are rare, right? What is the possibility of moving into another haunted house a year apart? And so I'd never experienced anything here either, but we were only here for a short while before she's like, oh, wait a minute, I think something's here. And I'm like, really? And not really, although after the whole incident and McAllister, I started really hitting the books and trying to learn about the spiritual aspect of my own religion. And so I was like, okay, there are ghosts in it. So that took a little study.
And to this day, he don't believe me when I say
I don't believe anybody. I am
Never.
still,
Never.
I'm very much a skeptic, even though I believe, even though I know, even though I've seen things, and I tell people my story and they look at me like, that guy's an idiot. And I don't believe, because I was the same person. So anyhow, it's life.
Anyway, that's kind of the first paranormal experience, but it wasn't until after he had his experience in this current house did we start the team up. And that was
2006 early
was when he had his experience, but we lived here since 2001. So it was 5 years before he actually.
Actually, my first experience, I think, was 2005. And then when I saw the full body apparition was 2006, and we started the team.
Yeah.
So
I'd been seeing it for 4 years before he would say I saw something. I mean, he was just ignoring me when I'd say, hey, guess what I saw today, or guess what I experienced today. Or
she would see a shadow. I mean, and it was always different. It was long, thin, tall, or short and blobby. It was all kind of just, you never really saw it look like a person. Only right? One time. So
but I was hearing stuff, and stuff was, it sounded like stuff rattling or moving across the counter. And it was just just the sound. Nothing would be moved. It would sound like something was sliding, but nothing really was moving. And I'd hear stuff like that all the time. Doors opening, and of course the door would open.
We would hear that. We'd hear that at night. It sounded like 3 footsteps, and then our door handle would jiggle to our bedroom
That's
door.
after he started believing there was something here.
That's when I started paying attention. We have a fan. We have the air conditioner. I mean, come on. Anyhow, but yeah, but.
So when that happened, he's like, "Oh, let's do a team," and I'm like, "I don't think so. No, I wasn't all into that. I didn't really want the. I knew it was going to be work, and I had enough work, and I knew that he would be the front man, the joke man. That everybody knew who he was, man, and I would be behind the scenes working my butt off, and nobody would know who I was, and I was pretty much correct.
Well,
he wore me down with it. Normally, everything he wants, he says, "Hey, let's do that," and I'm like, "No." And then within months, I'm tired of hearing it, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it."
Well, I mean, the thing is, so I saw the shadow that she saw. That's what made me believe that this was happening. I chased it around the house, and I told her, "I seen your ghost," and that was
the aha.
That was the
That's
aha.
when I said, "Aha."
And it was actually like a year after that. I'd seen downstairs. We're in a split level home, and I was downstairs and doing a little project, and I saw a man standing down there it's a converted garage, and I saw him good. He was about 5'7", slender build, shirt tucked in, crew cut. I mean, I saw him well, and of course it startled me, and I was going to get up there and handle the situation. There's a guy in my house, and then he wasn't there, and I realized that the only way out would be past me or through the back door, which was locked from the inside, and he had slide locks that were locked on the inside, so there's no way he went out that way. And so I was like, okay. And after that, I went to my pastor and I asked him, how do you handle ghosts? How do we deal with ghosts? And he's like, there is no such thing. And although he didn't laugh at me, I think he did on the inside, but I don't know. But it was after that I tried to look for a team. Like Pete said, there's the Atlantic Paranormal Society, and we were part of that. A little later, but that's what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody like them, somebody who can come in there and debunk what's going on and try to get down to the root of the problem. And I looked around, and there were no teams around that would like that. There were teams in Little Rock that leaned more metaphysical, and I didn't want to deal with that. There were teams, once again, in Central Arkansas that were. I'm an X-ray tech. I'm a diagnostic professional, and I was looking at the evidence that they were putting on there, and I was like, "That's just an artifact. That's not evidence." And then we looked out to Oklahoma City, and there was a team out there, and they were okay. We got to meet them, but nobody investigated our house because I don't want to say those kind of people.
We didn't feel comfortable letting them in our house.
Yeah. Well, just because I wanted somebody with the same kind of thought process that we had. But Tina has always been about the paranormal. She basically studied it since she was a kid because she loved all the folklore, the stories, read all the books.
There's that creepy kid in the library checking out Mothman books.
Yeah. So I, for about 5 years, really hitting the books on the supernatural aspect of Christianity. And I said, let's take my theology and your knowledge of the paranormal. And of course, she was watching all the shows, which I thought were stupid. But she was, I said, let's start a team and try to handle things a little differently than all the other teams that were around. And she graciously looked at me lovingly and said, no. No. And
I told you why. I had a reason.
And she's right. But I have a superpower, and it's called whining. I whined, and did she just laugh at me? Terrible. Anyhow, but yeah, I whined enough to actually start. Got the team started, and we started a little different than other people. just in the sense that I didn't want. Well, I guess not like different than other people because
We are different than other people because we weren't just out to play.
To thrill see.
A lot of teams in the area were about just going out to get scared somewhere, and we were all about, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right, and we will help people that need help, or do our
Specifically
best
to help
help
people,
and this is not going to be a play team. This is going to be a working team, and our members are going to have to understand that they're when we go to a place, there's going to be homework afterwards. You're going to have to listen to your audio and watch the video, and we would throw little pizza parties, and everybody would come to the house, and everybody'd sit around, listen to their audio that way.
Which you probably all been a part of those things.
We'd have the video up on the TV, and we'd like, you look at the one on the right, I'll look at the one on the left, and and that we did that for a long time.
But we did things like Tina coined the phrase. We're kind of common sense paranormal, and I think it's great because you look at our very first investigation. We have a historical site here in town, a really cool place. But we went out there. Our first investigation as a team was an outdoor investigation, and it was like an epic failure. None of my equipment was good enough. It was terrible. We didn't know what to do, and I really wish I could find the videos from that night because it was probably hilarious watching it now. But we did get together with that team from Oklahoma City, which was a Taps family team. And I reached out to them after we met them at a paranormal convention. And I said, hey, I'm all about training. I learned my job and I'm good at my job because I trained properly. So can we get together and can you show us how to do a proper investigation? They said, sure. So we drove out to Oklahoma City, which is about 3 hours away from us. And they showed us protocol. And the protocol, we still use that protocol. It works. It's fantastic. And but I will say, we're a brand new team, and they were an established team, and they were Taps family. And they had a not necessarily chip on their shoulder because they were really friendly. They're good people. But they would, I guess, try to throw curveballs at us. And we were like, no, didn't fall for any of those curveballs, and actually showed them a thing or two. So that gave me, it was a point of pride at the moment because it was new team, but we taught them about as much as they taught us. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Going back to right back at the beginning where you guys saw that thing on the side of the road. There's a lot of folklore in the States about different types of cryptologies, crypts all over the States. Did you ever research anything around that area that could possibly correlate to what you guys had seen that night?
I did a little bit. At the time, we did not. And then there's a big stretch of time between the time we saw that and the time I actually thought to go and look and see if I could find something. And actually, there were a few mentions of stuff that looked similar, but maybe not the exact same thing. In Oklahoma, close to that area, within a couple of hours of where we saw it. But nothing that the description of it was actually spot on of what we saw.
And most of the stories that we're hearing from people is at night in the country. One of the ones was in a tree.
In a tree.
Nothing was the length of time or as well lit as we saw. And a lot of the descriptions were similar, but different. Like one's a dog, right? Dog face, and I don't know, didn't look like a dog to me.
Well, the one that was in the tree was standing like upright, like it used its back legs to stand up like human. And that,
I mean, we don't know. The thing that we saw could do that. I mean, but we saw it on all fours.
Yeah, I'm guessing not for a long period of time. Just like any animal, you can get them to stand up on their back feet, but the way it was almost like that's the way it traveled, was either by flight, because they said it flew off out of the tree.
Yeah, they said it flew. What we saw could be wings, but we didn't see wings.
We didn't see wings, just pronounced like shoulder blades that could have been wings. So
interesting. Yeah, I haven't had that privilege of coming across a strange creature or anything cryptozoological. I know my mom claimed to see Bigfoot one time, but that's about the extent of all I've ever been able to deal with. And have you ever gone back to try to reinvestigate that?
And I don't want to see this thing again.
we went back and investigated the house we were living in at the time. When we first started, you do those letters and you write places and send them out looking for investigations, because you're new and you don't know really where to go or anything. So we had a handful of letters that we sent out to places that were known to be haunted, or the old house that we lived in McAllister we knew was haunted, and actually got to investigate it because it just so happened that the people who had lived there just moved out in the middle of the night, and the company, the real estate company that was renting the house out for the owners, when they got there to, I guess, get the rent, because it was late, there wasn't anybody there, and everything was gone except for the letter that we had sent was left on the counter for them to find. And so they called us because they said they just can't keep anybody in the house. And when they read that, they thought maybe that was the problem, and gave us a call, and we got to actually investigate the house. So
that's cool.
And we got evidence. So
nice.
There's a guy there and there's a lady there, and we got EVPs.
What a great validation, though, too, to all that you'd experience and everything. There's nothing. That's always my favorite part, is the validation portion. It's like, all right, I wasn't nuts after all. So,
well, I knew I wasn't nuts.
Well, and the thing about it, when we did the investigation, it was boring. Well, nothing really happened. Mm-hmm. We saw one shadow that was really fast and looked like a dog.
It was an audible.
We got an audible, but wasn't 100% sure it wasn't one of our investigators, so kind of threw that out. So when we did the evidence review, we got EVPs of a man and EVPs of a woman, and I love talking about this. I love our presentation about this, because at the end, it's basically just proof that men are just easier to get along with in life and afterlife, because in the EVP that we got, the 3 of the woman was some form of get out, right? Out, get out. And then the 4 of the man that we got was some form of I'm here, right? So here I am, I'm here. And so please let me talk to somebody. This lady is just really I'm stuck with her for eternity. But yeah, but I'm just saying.
No, I never thought about it like that.
I'm saying
we were
I've got
standing
proof.
on her mopped floor, and scenario why she wanted you to get out.
I've got proof.
And she probably wasn't talking to the women on the team. She was probably aiming it at you.
Probably. That wouldn't surprise me too much.
She probably recognized you when we lived there.
It's funny you should say that, Adrian. Probably about a month ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I turned around and said to him, this field hasn't really evolved over the last 20 years at all. But you brought up that comparison about men being generally more friendly ghosts than women. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense, actually. I think you've got something there. We could actually.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. I'm just glad my wife's not listening. But anyway.
That's funny. That's funny. What resonates with me is when, Adrian, you were talking about the the man of God saying, "Oh gosh, no, there are no such things as ghosts."
Yes.
I was a church secretary for 6 years, and I worked for different priests, and it was really interesting. I was kind of told by one of them, "Don't ever tell anybody what you do in your spare time." And then I was told by one of them, yeah, absolutely. If anybody needs their house blessed or whatever, I'm in, because I totally believe in that kind of stuff. But I mean, does that not give you, when they say, "Oh gosh, no, of course, there's no such things as ghosts," does that not give you the impetus to kind of go forward even more and say, "Hello, yes, there is."
Not at
right?
all. Not at all. Because living through it,
Right.
Tina experiencing stuff, the kids were experiencing stuff, and I wasn't. You have to actually witness it yourself. And there's some people you're not going to prove it to. And there are people you can't even prove it to when they witness it.
That's true.
Because I tell you, if I would have seen that creature across the road and it was just me, I
He
would
would have
have just
denied it and never said anything about it. He would
would've
just
said,
act like he didn't see it.
"That's some ugly dog." And just because some people just won't. I mean, we have a hospital here in Arkansas, historic hospital, well known, although we can't talk about it because it is a actual business, and they let us talk about it as a historic hospital. But we used to do events there, and it's probably the most active place uh, that we've been to. We've been to more haunted locations. I think that are more. We've been to more malevolent type areas. This place doesn't seem malevolent at all, although there have been moments. But we've seen people go there and the place be crazy active, and they didn't witness anything, and they won't witness anything, or they see a shadow person, and they're like, "No way, no, that it couldn't be." So denial
But
is
we've also had
there.
people that were brought there by their girlfriends. You know, they're only coming because their girlfriend wanted to come, and leave after the first floor. And you say, "Well, you got another 3 floors to do." And they say, "Well, I got my $25 worth. I'm going out to the car," because something happened, and it just shook them up to the point that they couldn't do
Oh
it
yeah,
anymore.
we've experienced at those events several suck air moments, like, and, and that's always fun.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that whole theological aspect of that whole mindset, and it seems to run rampant in pretty much all the different sects, where it's like, we believe in the Holy Spirit, but we don't believe in other spirits, and if there is something in, then it's obviously a demon, and
Well,
we
To
don't
me,
mess
it's
with that stuff.
all paranormal. I mean, really. I mean, if one's not any more paranormal than the other, you
Hmm.
believe in something you can't see, you can't
Yep.
feel, you can't, it's a faith thing that you go by. Um, then why wouldn't there be other paranormal
Yeah.
things? I mean, it's kind of all in the same, even though it's different. It is the same to
Yeah,
me.
right, Tina.
well, they quote the verse to be, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. So it's talking about death. You die, you're with God, and that is true. If you're a martyr, everybody else will have to go through judgment. Those people will go through judgment the same day I do, same day Tina does, same day you guys do. Everybody will go through judgment on the same day. And the question is, where do those people who weren't martyrs, who have died, where are they? Waiting for Judgment Day. And I have my own theory about this, and I won't know in this side of life. But my theory is when Adam and Eve was kicked out of the Garden of Eden, that angels were set at that gate with flaming swords, and it's a dimensional rift. It's still here on Earth. So I'm thinking that dimensional realm is where people are. And I don't know how big that is. I don't know exactly anything about it other than what the Bible says. And the Bible's clear; it's still there. I have several different theories, but that is mine that I hook to. A lot of people use that to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord, because it's a great comfort to people when somebody passes. But the Bible doesn't say that anywhere except for martyrs, and martyrs are all under the throne of God calling out for vengeance. And that's what the Bible says. Everything else, it doesn't talk about Joe Blow down the street. It doesn't talk about me. I'm not a martyr. I don't want to be a martyr. I want to die peacefully in my sleep. But it's just that's my thought. And it's kind of when I started the team with my lovely bride, we started specifically to help people and to try to discern, because most churches believe all this paranormal stuff is demonic. And I would say that out of all the investigations that we've done over the years, I think we've only encountered one.
Yeah. And that's kind of, been my experience as well through my faith. And I've even approached my church leaders as well and said, okay, listen, and I ask the same questions, like, what do you do when somebody comes to you with this kind of a problem? And the blank stares that you get back are kind of like,
They don't.
And they don't. I said, okay, well, and so eventually I'd say, okay, well, here's the deal. I do look into this stuff, and I do. So if you do have somebody that has this problem,
here's my card.
Here's my card. And because people need somebody to talk to, somebody that is actually going to understand what they're going through, and somebody who's going to believe them. And maybe it isn't anything at all. Maybe exactly right. Yeah, just like your wife. Yeah, and maybe it is completely explainable. It's nothing paranormal, but people are experiencing something, and and I think it's great that you've been able to come together and to form a team that can do that. I think that's fantastic. I can't get my wife to touch this stuff with a 20-foot pole, so she doesn't want anything to do with it at all. I'm just grateful that she's supportive of whatever.
Stuff like that, aliens, ghosts. It didn't matter. With the library book in grade school, doing the book reports on weird stuff, and I was the weird kid. So.
Well, and I'll say, and don't tell my wife this, but I couldn't have done this without her, because I look at things from one direction. And I am still, even though I see things, very skeptical. So some people tell us the stories and I'm like, and then
almost out loud, he does that.
Sometimes I roll my eyes right at people. Anyhow, but that's where Tina comes in, and
I say, look, if you told people like you the story about the thing crossing the road, they would be doing to you too. So you got to take that and know that you have something that you've experienced that other people would laugh at you about. So just give these people a chance. Maybe they're not making it up. Let's see. That's what we're here for. And so, I have to sometimes calm him down with his negativity.
It can be tough,
I also don't mind eating crow, because we've gone in places and I'm the one to try to debunk things. And but if I get something, I'm like, well, it is, but I'm not going to go in. Yeah, you can't pre-program me, because you tell me stuff that happened, I generally don't believe, and I have to go in there and witness, because most people are misunderstanding what's going on, even when they're haunted, because. Like, we've had things where one of the things that we talk about is we went to a house here in Arkansas where something, things were, and they put a house there and then realized that it wasn't being thrown anymore. So they automatically went, oh, it's a demon, because I put the cross and spoke that power to that. And when I went there to check them out, that the thing that was being thrown was a gnome, and the apparition they were seeing was in like a librarian kind of thing, dress all the way up, hair in a bun. And I said, she's probably a church lady, and well, we don't think anything crazy about a gnome. Back in 1890, a gnome is a demonic creature. So she was probably like, get this out of my house. And they put the cross there, probably just confused him. So we look at things a little differently than others in that sense. If that made
Funny,
sense.
I've grown up in the UK.
I was going to make a point.
I grew up in a kind of I was christened Church of England, but I grew up in a kind of a Catholic environment as such, and I did a lot of fundraising for heritage sites like castles and stuff like that. And there was always a lot of religious bodies involved and stuff like that. And in North America, it's more in religion. It's more of a taboo subject to what it is back in the UK. It's like with the priests that I associate with, that I did fundraisers with back there. It was more that they believed, but they weren't allowed to talk about it, and that's it. Like they have their own spiritual focus about the after dead, like and ghosts and stuff like that, and but they're not effectively allowed to talk to it because it's shunned upon in the Bible and stuff like that. Even though, as to what Tina was saying as well about, even believing in God, it is defined as paranormal as such. It is that kind of it's all under the same category as well. It's interesting. In North America, like with some other people I know that are Catholics, and they are very religious as well, that are in the field, that they've just been shunned upon within their community because of what they believe in ghosts and stuff like that. It's just weird.
Well, I think what happens though is a lot of these, people who really think that they've got a good grasp on everything. They got a good grasp on where they're going and where their family members are that have passed already and stuff like that, and it kind of shakes it up a little bit for them, and just like anybody else, it just kind of like. Adrian talked about, it's kind of like, no. I've got my path. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. And I think that, nothing really has changed. All we have stumbled upon is things that we just don't really understand and we don't really know about. We don't know what the whole process is after we die. We have some ideas and we have some theories. Clearly there is something. And I think for a lot of theologians that it's a bit much to try to, because it's not all laid out in black and white in print. It's something that you can read and study. So, but I am just tickled to death that you two have come together on that and been able to form a team and be able to help people through a lot of this stuff. I think that's fantastic.
I've done a lot of preaching in people's houses, so I've done quite a bit, just because that's the angle that I use it. I've never used a team as an evangelical thing. I never put it out there. I do view things from that way, and I won't say that everybody on my team views the same way. I mean, Tina doesn't view everything the same way as I do, but when it comes down to the Christian aspect of it, we pretty much.
It's the only thing we agree on.
It's about the only thing we agree on. But we have been married 26 years, so.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, how many people do you have on your team?
Right now, 5.
Wow, that's good.
But we are River Valley Paranormal.
Yeah, we've had as much as, I think at the biggest was like 16 people, and it was like a revolving door. You kind of get tired of it. People coming in, and you set forth all your protocol and you train them, and then you find out, even though they said otherwise, that they're not there to do the work part of it. They're just wanting to go to creepy places.
Do the creepy thing. Yeah.
So even though going in, you do the interviews and saying, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Are you willing to do it like this? We're not in it for the booze and the scares. We're in it seriously to help people. That's what our goal is. That's what our mission is. It's not to go to, places in the dark and play.
Yeah, because I mean, I originally started the team as a ministry, and that's the way I looked at it. Our job wasn't, even if the place was haunted, our job was to educate the people to where They don't do the Casper the Friendly Ghost and go ghost and run away. Let them know that it's just a natural thing. It's just something. Uh, a lot of the shows and the movies, every ghost is, other than Patrick Swayze, every ghost is a danger thing, right? And it's going to bite your face off, and and everything is. A lot of people, they'll see the same kind of black blobby mass that we had in this house, and they think, oh, it was a dark mass, it's got to be something evil. But if you listen to the TV programs, they see a dark mass, and then come to creepy music, and it automatically it's something that's evil. That's just not the case. So over the years that we spent time mostly just educating people with what they're witnessing and what they're dealing with.
I couldn't agree more. I have the exact same opinion as you do, and it's refreshing to hear. You know, and you know, I was talking a little bit about a case that fell on my lap today earlier, and that's exactly, you know, the things that she's describing. I talked to her on the phone for about an hour and a half today, and you know, try to give her some reassurance and, you know, let her know that, you know, it's going to be okay, that she doesn't have to pack her bags and move. You know, so what kind of advice do you give to people out there that, you know, are struggling with things going on in their house? They don't have anybody to turn to. What would you tell those people?
Well, it depends on what's going on in their house. Most of the time, it's just small things. You know, they hear something, or they mostly it's footsteps. You know, I hear footsteps, or my kid is seeing something, and then of course, you know, we ask the questions. You know, has it harmed anybody? Does it do anything that seems aggressive? And most of the times it's no. You know, but it's scaring me.
Well, I hear things like Tina's talking about here in the house about hearing sounds in the house, and one of the sounds she heard, she was trying to go to sleep, and she heard a sound like papers rustling, like somebody was going through papers trying to find something. And some people would like, oh my God, I gotta get out of this house, I gotta move. And I don't, all it is, whatever entity was trying to find something. And so that's why we try to present the common sense to it. Just because what you're thinking is scary sounds scary, but if you look at it as this is just a person, then it's not as scary. Other than, you know, there's a person in your house. That's kind of weird.
So most of the time we let them know that it is a person. You know, unless it's being aggressive, it's nothing to be afraid of. You've lived with it this long, and it's not done anything to you other than you're scared. But that's something you're causing yourself. To speak out loud, like you're talking to a person that's visiting, and let them know it's okay for them to be there, but they're scaring you, and please don't mess with my children, or whatever it is that they're doing that's causing them to be afraid. Please stop.
Yeah.
And I said 9 times out of 10 they'll quit.
Say it out loud.
It's almost like they don't realize that they're scaring you. They might be trying to get your attention for something, or whatever the case may be. But usually that will work, because usually it's something that is something simple or small. And I say, if you hear footsteps, you know, just ignore them. Don't try to interact with what you got going on, because that's just going to make it worse. It's going to make it more active, not less active. Let it know.
We always tell people,
let it know what
do not investigate your own home. Invite somebody else in to investigate.
If you're going to.
If you're going to have.
There are a lot of times we don't even have to go investigate. We just talk to the person a couple of hours on the phone. They feel better about it. We tell them what to do, and then we go from there. If you speak out loud and let it know to not bother you, and then it's still bothering you, give us a call back. But most of them, they'll either call back and say, hey, it worked, or never call back. So we just got, you know, unless it's something that's bad, we just let them know. You just vocalize it. It might be dead, but it's a human, and you can speak to it. You might feel funny at the time, but it does help. You know, they may not realize that they're frightening you with their paper shuffling or their glass lifting or their whatever it is that they're doing that's freaking you out. If it was a human that was alive, it wouldn't freak you out that they were doing that thing. So just let them know that that's not okay. So,
like Tina said, I don't mind that you're here. I just don't want to see you. So you never saw anybody, so I guess it worked.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, bring it on. Show me. Yeah. Where are you?
Different now.
I do that. I do that now. I didn't do it then. That
Because
was
we're
back-
bored during an investigation. Can you please just show yourself?
No,
Oh
I
my
do that
God,
now
we've been
in
here
my
for
house.
hours.
I know, fed up with saying the same thing over and over again.
If I hear something moving in the house, I'll get up and go try to figure out what it was that was moved. And on occasion, he will talk to me. I'll be walking down the hall and he'll say in my ear, "Hey," and I'll stop and go, "What?"
What?
And then he never says anything else, or if he does, I don't hear it.
I'm sure he's probably going,
So
she heard me.
yeah. So if it's stuff like that, I will try to get him to do it again or say it again. But I don't recommend other people doing that, especially if they're freaked out in their
for
home
sure.
to do that.
Dude, that's great advice.
Be careful what you wish for sometimes.
That would be another case that we did over the phone. A lady where she worked was haunted, and it was supposedly a child, a little girl. And somehow
This story.
the little girl was invited to the lady's house. And at first it was cool because the kids were interacting with it, and it was changing the channel on the TV. It kept going to cartoon channel. And she would change the channel back to what she was wanting to watch, because at whatever time of night they watched a certain thing, and it would go back to cartoon channel. And it was freaking her out. And after I think it was 2 days, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I have a friend that is having a problem in her house. Can she call you?" I said, "Sure." And so she calls me on the phone, and she tells me this story that I just told you, that it's supposed to be a little girl ghost, and they try to get her to interact at work, and now it's in her house and she can't get her to leave. And I said, "Well, what is she doing?" And she said, "Well, she keeps the TV on. We turn it off and she turns it on to the cartoon channel." And she told me the story about that's all that the TV will play now, cartoon channel. And I said, "Well, just tell her that she can't be there, that she needs to go back to where you work, where she come from." And she said, "Oh," I said, "It'll sound funny. Just say it in the air." And she said, "Okay." So she hangs up, and then about 30 minutes later, she calls me back. She said, "It's worse." And I said, "Well, what's going on now?" And she said, "Well, now my garage door's opening. The electric garage door's opening." And I said, "Well, where's your car?" And she said, "It's in the garage." And I started laughing. I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, if it's a little girl, she probably don't know how to get back to where she was." I said, "She's wanting you to take her. She's opening your garage door for you so you can take her in the car, because pretty much that's how she got to your house."
She's like, "Let's go."
And she goes, "Really?" And I said, "Okay." I said, now tell her, in the morning you'll go, just keep everything off tonight, please. And so in the morning when you get ready to go, you announce that you're going to work, tell her to come with you, and go. And then when you get to work, tell her to stay there, and that you're not welcome at my house anymore, but we can play here. I said, bring a doll or something with you and keep it there at work. So the next day, she didn't call for a long, long time, and I was wondering if it worked. And it was real late at night. She finally called back, and she said, "There's nothing going on in my house. I think it worked." But it was all done over the phone. There was no investigation. It was just her telling me what was going on and me trying to figure out how to get it out of her house when she's the one that thought it would be cool to bring it home with her. So we try to do stuff like that all the time, and we try to figure out a logical way I mean, she knew she was haunted, her stuff wouldn't stay off, but that wasn't the end goal. Her end goal was to get rid of what she had invited to her house.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a child because it didn't know how to get back to where it was. It just knew it rode in the car on the way over there. So,
And that's what I say when we take a call. I ask them, what's your goal on this? Because some people want validation. Some people don't need validation. They just want whatever's in their house to go away. And we don't do interventions. Interventions should be done by the homeowner. We have gone in smudged homes before. But when we do that, we teach the person how to do that because our goal is to educate.
Yep.
But yeah, we try to handle things, especially now. We've been doing it, like I said, since 2006. And our favorite investigation is the one that people call us that they don't need it. We like to handle things to get to the end result faster, because you do an investigation, you have all those recorders going, you got to listen to all those recorders, you got all that video playing, you got to watch all that video. So nobody wants to do that. I mean, year 1, year 2, year 3, it's fantastic, man. You can go,
It's
gonna move because they tell me that door is gonna move. That door never moved, not one time. And now we're like, okay, I'd rather sit there and watch Survivor.
It sounds great when there's when you got clients where there's like things being thrown around the house and stuff like that, but then when you actually get around there and nothing actually happens,
nothing happens.
Yeah. You've got that 4 or 5 different investigations of nothing happening. It's like, I wish I just
you jump for joy when you get that one EVP.
Yeah, it's like
on investigation number 12. Everything's been silent, and then all of a sudden you have one. I've got one.
It's just one of those things. We've been doing it for a while, and like she said, we'll go in there. We go straight into intervention mode. Now, if you want proof, a lot of businesses like that because they want to. This place is haunted. They want to have some kind of something to show people to prove that. And if that's what you need validation, we'll go do it. But when we first started, we had a lot of activity in the area, and we got a lot of evidence. And now over the years, I think it's just been pounded out by so many teams because we were the only team in the area. And now there's probably 5 teams on our street. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the face of the field's definitely changed over the last 15 to 20 years. It's just too many, and it's not good for the better. It's actually made it worse for a lot of people, where we've got people potentially got people's lives in their hands, and they're mimicking what they see on TV as a way to investigate and the way to actually treat people that are at the end of their tether of things going on in their life. Not so much yourself and Adrian and Tina, the way you treat your clients and stuff like that, but the things that you see on TV with like the demons and stuff like that, it's just it makes it worse out there for people, for sure.
We did have a friend of ours call.
Oh, excuse me.
And say,
share that with the world.
Say that she was upset that we told her mother that she had a demon. And I said, well, first of all, we didn't investigate your mother's house.
No.
Yeah.
So we did not tell her she had a demon. I said, we have never told anybody that they have a demon. So whoever came in and did her house was not us. She said, well, I told her to call you. And I said, well, she didn't call us, but you need to ask her what team came in. So there are teams out there that's what they do.
Well, I mean, there is a show that I will not mention by name, but they go straight to demon every time. And
was that a show you were actually on at one point?
I was wondering the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't recall seeing you on that show, didn't I? Was that the other show?
Yeah.
Well, I turned it over to the chat. I didn't have it on the chat, and it said this. I love the name, Facebook user. It said, maybe you brought the spirit with you from the previous house. I don't know if the person is still on here, but no, It's definitely not the same person. The
Sorry,
entity that's here is a smoker, and the entity there was not. And it would be funny though, because the guy came, the woman didn't. He's like, dude, here I am. And he could have hopped in the car, but no, I don't. This place was haunted before we went back to that house and got those EVPs.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys. Our show is now over. Guys, thanks, guys, for tuning in, and thank you, Tina and Adrian, as always. Always a pleasure. And
Thanks for inviting us.
No problem at all.
Man,
we'll be back
these guys
next
talk
week.
all the time.
I just don't. Well, it was easy for us.
Shut up.
No, it was easy because we didn't have to say anything.
It's kind of like one of those self-driving cars. It just kind of works. We sit back and relax and enjoy the ride.
Just sat back. We could have just had carbon cutouts of ourselves for the whole hour and come back. No, brilliant. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll be back next week with another show.